Conflicts are woven into the fabric of human relationships. Whether it's a disagreement with family, tension with friends, or outright hostility from adversaries, maintaining peace is a challenge that many of us face daily. It often feels like no matter how much effort we put into fostering harmony, something always disrupts the balance. This is not a modern dilemma. Across history, conflicts have been an inevitable part of human interaction. Wherever people gather, differing opinions, misunderstandings, and competing interests create friction. This was especially true during the time of Jesus, a period marked by Roman occupation in Israel. The societal tension, combined with personal struggles, made peace seem like a distant dream for many. In this environment, Jesus presented a revolutionary approach to conflict resolution. His teachings weren't just practical, they were deeply transformative. They challenged the status quo and offered a vision of peace that starts from within and radiates outward into the community. As an Israelite, Jesus was deeply familiar with the covenant laws given to ancient Israel. These laws were more than just rules, they were a guide for building just and harmonious relationships. However, over time, their deeper purpose was often overshadowed by rigid interpretations and loopholes. Take the command, "Do not break your oath but fulfill your vows to the Lord." Oaths in ancient Israel were sacred promises, often invoked in God's name. They served as a safeguard, ensuring that agreements were honored and trust was maintained. If someone swore by God to repay a debt, it was a solemn commitment. But human nature has a way of bending rules for convenience. Imagine this scenario: someone swears to repay a loan, not directly by God but by the temple. Technically, they haven't invoked God's name, so they feel justified in breaking their promise. Such clever manipulations eroded trust and created conflicts, undermining the very purpose of oaths. Jesus addressed this with a straightforward yet profound teaching: let your yes mean yes and your no mean no. In other words, live with integrity so that your words are enough. This approach eliminates the need for elaborate promises and fosters a culture of honesty. It's a reminder that true peacemaking begins with our own actions and attitudes. But what about conflicts that arise through no fault of our own? This is where Jesus' teachings become even more challenging and transformative. He referred to the law, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. This principle, known as the law of retaliation, was designed to ensure fairness. It limited retribution, preventing revenge from spiraling out of control. Yet, Jesus urged his followers to go beyond fairness. He said, "Do not resist an evil person." This doesn't mean passively accepting injustice. Instead, Jesus introduced a radical concept: nonviolent resistance. He encouraged his followers to respond to wrongdoing in ways that disrupt the cycle of conflict and open the door for reconciliation. He illustrated this with three powerful examples. If someone slaps you on the right cheek, turn the other cheek as well. In ancient times, a slap on the right cheek was more than physical, it was a deliberate act of humiliation. By offering the other cheek, the victim didn't submit but instead asserted their dignity. It was a bold statement: I refuse to be reduced to less than your equal. If someone sues you for your shirt, give them your coat too. In a society where coats were essential for warmth and survival, this act carried profound significance. By willingly giving more than what was demanded, the victim exposed the injustice of the situation. It was a way of saying, I see your exploitation, and I choose to respond with generosity, not bitterness. If someone forces you to carry their pack for 1 mile, go with them too. Under Roman law, soldiers could compel civilians to carry their gear for a mile. This humiliating practice reinforced their authority. But by voluntarily carrying the pack an extra mile, the oppressed reclaimed their agency. It was a powerful way to say, I may be obligated to serve, but I choose to do so with dignity and humanity. Perhaps the most challenging aspect of Jesus' teachings is his command to love our enemies. He said, "You have heard it said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." This idea was as shocking then as it is now. Loving those who harm us goes against our natural instincts. It's hard enough to love the people who care for us. How much more difficult is it to extend love to those who actively oppose us? Jesus didn't frame this as an impossible ideal but as a practical path to peace. He pointed to God's example. God causes the sun to rise on both the evil and the good and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. God's love is impartial, extending to all, regardless of their actions. By adopting this divine perspective, we can begin to see even our enemies as fellow humans, deserving of dignity and compassion. This doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior or ignoring injustice. Loving our enemies is about breaking the cycle of hatred and choosing a higher path. It's about seeking understanding and reconciliation, even when it feels undeserved. Jesus' teachings call us to a way of life that is both challenging and transformative. They invite us to prioritize peace over pride, love over retaliation, and integrity over manipulation. This path isn't easy. It requires courage, humility, and a commitment to seeing the humanity in everyone, even those who oppose us. When Jesus said, "Be perfect, as your heavenly Father is perfect," he wasn't demanding flawlessness. He was calling us to embody God's generosity and grace in our relationships. This kind of perfection is about striving for completeness, aligning our actions with the principles of love and justice. By following these teachings, we can become true peacemakers. We can transform conflicts into opportunities for growth, turn enemies into allies, and build communities rooted in compassion and understanding. It's a radical way to live, but one that holds the promise of real and lasting peace. If this message resonated with you, we encourage you to share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Together, we can spread the light of peace and understanding in a world that truly needs it. Before you go, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What does peace mean to you in your relationships? Share your insights in the comments below. Your words might inspire someone else today. Remember, even the smallest act of kindness or understanding can create ripples of change. Let's be the peacemakers our world needs.